Welcome to the Uncle Ali podcast with me, your Uncle Ali. And today we're going to talk about the fight before the fight. And hopefully I can translate this into whatever issue you're having in your life. I've probably spoke about this story before, but a lot of the time repetition creates conviction, and the more I speak about something or do something, the more you take it in and understand it a little bit more. It's like if you drill a double egg once, you're probably not going to truly understand it or get the technique correctly. But if you drill that technique 100 times, 1,000 times, it's going to be so much stronger. And the same goes with if I'm trying to teach you a lesson or teach you a story. Most people think the fight starts when the bell goes, when the ref says fight, when the cameras are on, but the real fight happens long before that, in silence, alone, when no one else is around, when you can quit and give up and there's no one else there. And sometimes, in my case, halfway across the world in Cambodia, where no one knew my name, where if I was kidnapped and, taken away, no one would fucking know and no one would bat an eyelid, and there would be literally no help whatsoever. So it was about, I think, 2000, I could just check the record, but I think it was 2014 or 13. I had no corner team really with me at this stage. No sponsors, no fans. I didn't really post on social media. Instagram existed, but it wasn't like it was now. There was no TikTok. I didn't do YouTube. It wasn't really, again, it wasn't in the social media push, should we say. It was just, me turning up. I promise I made myself, and I'd taken a fight in Cambodia. It wasn't for fame. It wasn't for money. I got paid. I don't think I got paid anything, I'll be honest. Just a flight to Cambodia, experience the world and fight. Didn't really know who the opponent was. And it was just to test myself. And when I say I was alone at this stage, I pretty much mean that. There was another guy fighting, and he was cutting weight as well at the same time as me and fighting, but it was more or less just by yourself. You can't really, when you're trying to cut weight and get ready for a fight, someone else is fighting, they might as well not be there. They've got their own shit to deal with. We didn't even have a sauna to cut weight at this stage. We had to figure it all out just through grit and sweat, and I had a lot of weight to drop. I'm not going to lie about that. The flight didn't help whatsoever. Flying to Cambodia is quite a long flight, and if you messed any aspect of it up, you're going to retain a lot of water, and I retained a lot of water. It sounds stupid to cut a lot of fucking weight, but I always believe cutting weight is one of the strongest tools you can use to create mental toughness, especially if no one else is there to help you, which was the case. And I never really had help cutting weight. I remember sitting in a hotel room, starving, thirsty, thinking about, fuck me, I think I had like 70 kilos to lose overnight. And it would have been easy just to not to do it, just to try and get a catch weight at some point. They already flew me out there. But it was at a point of, okay, I've got to actually make this work. And the thing with cutting weight is you always have to fight with your internal demons. They always tell you to stop, that you're going to get injured, that you don't need to do it. And for me, there was no one there. And when you're cutting weight by yourself, There's another guy cutting weight, but he was doing his own thing. When you're cutting weight, you have to, if you're doing it by yourself, you have to put precautions in place. So for example, you're sitting in the bath for 15 minutes, you've got to set a timer so you don't end up fucking passing out. You might pass out, so you need an alarm or something to kind of wake you up, get you out of the bath. More than likely, you're going to want to get out of the bath because you're going to want to quit before then. And so you'll set the 15-minute timer, and then you have to get up slowly because you might black out at any point and there's no one there to help you. So you've got to sit at the edge of the bath with your feet still in the bath because you can get a little bit more sweat out. And then take one leg out at a time and sit on the edge of the bath. And again, breathe and make sure you're not dizzy because you will get dizzy. And then sit down on the ground. And when you're sitting on the ground, you can put your sweatsuit on. So you come out of the bath, put your sweatsuit on, and then you want to crawl or walk slowly, holding on to doors on your way to the bed. And that's important because I've seen a lot of people pass out and hit their head on the ground. Okay, it's dangerous. So you've got to take your time. Then when you're on the bed, you wrap yourself in the towels and make sure you can do that. And you have to do all this while you're fucked, while you're trying to lose 7-8 kilo. It's not easy. And then you've got to do that fucking 4 or 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 10 times, 20 times, as long as it fucking takes to get the weight off. And normally it's overnight. And for me in Cambodia, it was overnight. And it becomes a stage when you're cutting weight, it's just not coming off. Like you go through all this pain for like 0.1 of a fucking kilo, which is nothing. And you think, what the fuck? Why am I going to get this weight off? And you just got to keep going. It's like going through a tunnel and not seeing the end in sight and not knowing if you're ever going to get to the end. You've just got to have faith and grit. And that's what it was like the whole way through the night. I mean, we arrived literally the night before the weigh-ins. And they did that intentionally because they didn't want us making weight. They wanted us cutting a little bit on the day. They wanted us going out into the Cambodia heat with a sweatsuit on and sweating to tire ourselves out. It was intentional. They knew the sauna wouldn't be available when we arrived. And we have to do it all by bath, and that's fine. Because I did most of it in the bath. I mean, we arrived that day and I spent all night coming in and out of the bath. I'm not too sure. And the other guy, he was doing his own thing. I was just concentrating on me. And all the way through the night, cutting the weight off. And I remember weighing myself and I was still about 3 kilo over. I couldn't get any more off the bath. The bath was just not working anymore. And I always tell people when they're cutting weight and they have a lot to cut, to split your modalities up a little bit. So do a little bit from a workout, do a little bit from a sauna, do a little bit from a bath. And if you're doing £5 in each, yes, £15, which is a lot of weight, but it's easy to do it in each modality. Like £5 in a workout, it's nothing really for sweatsuit on. £5 in a bath is nothing. And you would do all of them together, you're losing a lot of weight with not as much effort. But if you only have the one way to lose the weight, such as I did in the bath, it's very hard. Eventually it stops working. Eventually it feels fucking pointless. What the fuck am I doing this for? Then your body just adjusts to it and you stop dropping water. So the sauna was open in the morning, about 6 o'clock, luckily. So I think the weigh-ins were about 9. So I had a couple of hours there to get a couple of kilo off, and I should make weight. But listen, if you've ever done this before and you've had already cut like 5-6 kilo and you have to get a few more kilo off, it is fucking horrible. It's horrible. It's not good. And the whole time I was waiting for the sauna, I was resorting to spitting to try to squeeze out a piss, but there was nothing there. My mouth was dry. There was no piss coming out. And so in the sauna, I had to wait for I had to pretty much stay in quite consistently. Like I'd get a 30 second to a minute break and then go back in and do that and 10-minute intervals, 15-minute intervals, in and out, in and out, in and out, and scraping the sweat off. I had a sweatsuit on as well. And it was a full-blown 24, not far off a 24-hour weight cut between modalities. Fucking horrible. Not a wink of sleep. Just concentrating on the weight the whole time. Not a pleasant experience. And I'm not going to lie, I did that way too many times in my career. Like, that was pretty much a lot of fights. Pretty much every fight, pretty much in the later end of my career. Just because I was big-ish for the weight class, and I used to just do it that way because I believed it needed to be hard. I wanted it to be hard. I could have made it easier. Dumb as fuck, but I felt like the harder it was, the more mentally prepared I'd be for the fight. And I felt like quitting the whole time. That little voice in your head thinks, fuck, you could just not miss. You just not make weight and just miss weight and you'd be alright. You'd be okay, but that would be against who I am, my morals, who I am as a person. I said I'm going to make 70 kilo. I'm going to make 70 kilo. And it wasn't about the fight, it was about me. And the hardest part about that was the fact it was alone. Suffering in silence. Far from home, no applause, no comfort. No one fucking patting me back saying, you can do it. I had to be my own best friend. And then I realised this was a test. It's not the fight, not the opponent. This was the moment I was becoming the kind of man I wanted to be. There was no one else around, and I had to make fucking weight with no one else there. And listen, I'd done this previously throughout my career, where I always make weight by myself, always. But it only hit when I was abroad in Cambodia, where there was no one else there available. Like other times, there was other people available. The team were there, I just chose not to need the help. Now there was no choice. And I felt that a little bit more real. There was no one else there. There's no comfort, no security, no familiarity. You're in a foreign country where you could be, as I say, kidnapped at any stage, and Cambodia is not the most politically correct or the safest country in the world. And when you're in a stage of, no choice but to step up for yourself, that's when you meet the real you. When you have to cut weight, that is when you meet the real you. When it's hard, when it's tough, when it's easy to quit. And I've seen so many people quit in weight cuts. Weight cutting, a heavy weight cut, is what sets the hard bastards apart from the mentally weak. And you all want to quit. Everyone wants to quit during a weight cut. Every single fucking person is just whether you act upon it or not. Not for the Instagram post, not for the fucking YouTube video, not for anything, just for you. Who shows up when your body says stop and your spirit has to make the call? And I made that version in Cambodia. I didn't quit. And something changed after I made the cut. I didn't just make weight. I gained something a little bit more valuable. So like an inner weapon. Conviction. I stopped needing the hype, the praise. And true confidence just comes from keeping the promises you keep to yourself when no one is watching. That's where real confidence comes from. And you might be listening to this thinking, I lack confidence. I don't have that sort of conviction in myself yet. And that comes from overcoming hard challenges and sticking to the promise you said to yourself, where you could have quit, where you could have not done it, but you fucking did it anyway. And sometimes you do need a helping hand, by the way. Sometimes it's nice to have someone push you, but what do you do when that person isn't always around to push you, to make you do it? Are you going to fucking step up to the plate and do it without anyone there? Because a lot of people aren't going to be there. There's a lot of times in your life where no one's going to be around and it's down to you and you can easily quit. And that's the part people miss. Everyone wants to win, the hype, the applause, but no one wants the war with themselves. And that's where it's built. It's where you get the edge. You get the edge when you win that war with yourself. Now, every person listening to this has a Cambodia moment in their lives. And maybe it's not a literal one. You're not going to be in Cambodia trying to fucking cut 6, 7, 8 kilo overnight. But there is a time when they're in the heat, alone. They want a break. And that moment, you do want to quit, where you want to give up, is sacred. It's a special moment, and that's the moment where you could become a champion. It is a test. And all the time, people choose not to see it that way. They see it as a moment to quit, to give up. They don't see that there could be an amazing result if they just stick this fucking hard moment out. And it is tough. So the next time you are suffering, I don't want you to run away from it. I don't want you to beg for it to be easy. Pray to make it easier. The whole point is in having that hard moment is so it is tough, so you learn from it, so you get stronger from it, and you need to lean into it. You need to get curious and ask yourself the question, who am I? Who are you when it's just you and the pain? And that pain could be mentally or physically. Can you survive? And that is the fight before the fight. Listen, if something in this episode resonated with you, please do me a favour, share it with someone who's in the middle of their Cambodia moment right now. You might have a Cambodia moment as well. And remember, you don't need permission to be a savage, to be mentally tough. You just need to take action and decide. If you're watching on Spotify, give it 5 stars. If you're on YouTube, give it a like and subscribe.